you. That was extremely insightful. As per usual, I'm going to start off by asking questions. But to everyone who's listening, if you could please just drop your questions into the chat so I can ask them. So I'm going to speak or ask a question around, it's not really around harmful content and hate speech, but what we saw that was extremely prevalent during the pandemic, and we still see it today, is, like you've said, a lot of hate speech, a lot of harmful content. As the vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccine is now out, getting to certain countries, not reaching all countries across the world, what do you think the role of marketing, brands, private companies, what do you think our role is as leaders in terms of just ensuring the right vaccine message is put out? And when I say this, it's because there's a lot of harmful content around the vaccine. The vaccine is bad for you, the vaccine is going to do this to you. And there are a lot of people who are undecided, but what they do is they go online, and that is the information that they're getting. And based on that, they don't want to get a vaccine. And as brands, Mr. Gusman has talked about the fact that we must be good citizens. So all of a sudden, we must look beyond selling our products. So what role do we have to play in ensuring that the right vaccine message goes out and people do take the vaccines?
Yeah, so I think there are two areas in particular where brands can play a role. One is, as I said, making sure that platforms are much more effective at getting rid of the disinformation and hold them accountable to that. So we're going to be announcing in April a framework where we measure the amount of harmful content present on each of those platforms in a manner that helps compare them and helps track over time whether things are getting worse or getting better. Okay, today we don't have that. Today we are absolutely unable to quantify the problem, and therefore we're not able to hold them accountable. That's going to be, I think, a big change, because when it becomes public, the pressure on individual platforms to make sure that they get better is going to be significantly higher. So I think that's very, very important. Additionally, I think brand owners have a duty to make sure that they don't monetize unintentionally harmful content, that their ads don't appear next to harmful content, because that just gives additional credibility to those misleading informations. And then finally, I think individual marketing leaders, I'm just thinking, for example, of the CEO of Airtel Nigeria, who are personalities with integrity, reputation, etc. Also with respect to their employees, if they can have themselves, as he mentioned in his speech, so very honest conversation with employees, and explain that he will have them, how should I say, that he will be vaccinated, and explain why. That can also be a very powerful way to lead by example. That these would be the sort of leadership initiatives I would mention.
Okay, and then the last question from me, and then I'll pass on to everyone else, is you'd spoken about using data on ethics. Could you just expand on that a bit more? What you meant by?
Yeah. So there are two ways of looking at data. One is, was this data collected in the right manner? So did we have proper consent, etc.? And so that's, in a way, that's a legal hurdle. And then the question is, how do I use that data in order to promote my business? For example, you could imagine that a telecoms company has information about a young female adult being somewhere stranded in a dangerous neighborhood on a Friday night and running out of battery on her phone. Sorry, not the telecoms company, an app, say Uber, yeah? And on the basis of those insights, they have all that information they got was absolutely legal. They could decide to apply different price policies in terms of sending an Uber, So it's a terrible example, but it's just to show that it's not because you've collected that data legally that the way you're using it is ethical. And so that's where you need to be able to pass this test of, am I actually behaving in a manner that meets the standards of the company and that I would be comfortable to explain in public? And there are going to be lots of those users of data going forward, given the importance of data, which will require a very clear, coherent, and public company policy so that companies can be held accountable for the way they use that data. And that's where we want to help brand owners start thinking about it and start creating policies.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so just looking at the questions. So I've got here from Osamede. He says, how would the WFA help the growth of the marketing profession in Africa?
Look, I think I'm a big believer in sharing knowledge and experience, and it is my experience that it's a network of brands. So you have actually incredibly creative initiatives, incredibly insightful initiatives, incredible talent in plenty of different places around the world, and that's exactly what WFA is about. So we don't see ourselves as a sort of global organization which starts sharing knowledge. We see ourselves as a hub which connects brands all around the world and which is in a position to get the smartest ideas, the best experiences shared across the network on whatever subject markets encounter. And that's really it's this diversity which makes it so useful. No? And so we are particularly interested in some of the creativity and the technological applications of apps in Africa. We've seen some really interesting case studies in South Africa and Kenya. That's the sort of thing where we want to be sort of accelerating the exchange rather than sort of just say we're going to be sharing experience. No, we're connectors in a way. That's how you should look at us. And by the way, I'd like also to say that our commitment to Africa runs deep. We have Bunmi, who's our regional vice president Africa, who I see here on the call, who's actually representing ADVAN and Nigerian marketers on our executive committee, and who's part of those global conversations. Because increasingly, when you talk about these issues, they are actually of a global scale, even if they may have different angles country by country.
Okay. So I've got a question for you, but I see Mr. Ogunsanya is back with us, so I'm just going to ask him a quick question. It's probably more for me. Someone asked what I usually don't understand. So it says, good evening, sir. As a chartered accountant, would you recommend incremental budgeting or zero-based budgeting for marketing, considering the ever-changing external environment marketing has to deal with? How important is understanding balance sheet items for a chief marketing officer that would like to become a chief executive officer one day? Oh, you're mute, you're mute.
I'm a big fan of zero budgeting, I must confess, because I think if you recycle what you've done last year and just put a 5, 10, 15% growth on it, you're not going to be able to uncover value. So I prefer zero budgeting, start from ground zero, see what the activities are, measure the outcomes, stop or continue. So my preference is for zero budgeting. I also believe that anyway, I mean, you are the face of the business, you represent the values of the business. I don't think there's any stronger face than the CEO. And I think the path to becoming a CEO is not only one track. Like I described earlier, I think for you to be, or I believe for you to be a successful CEO, you must know one or two things very, very deeply. You must be an expert in one or two things. Either you're an expert in finance, you're an expert in marketing, you're an expert in networking, technical, then you know a little about every other thing to succeed. Because you must be able to add value to any discussion. In my own case, I'm privileged. I train as a chartered accountant. I'm an engineer, so I'm able to add value to network discussion, to IT discussion. And my finance guy is probably not the best guy because he can't, I mean, I know a lot about finance. And because I worked for Coca-Cola for over 17 years in very senior roles, I know a lot about marketing and distribution. So I can say probably I'm a lot more privileged than most other people, CEOs. But in essence, just figure out one thing you want to do very, very well and be very deep, become an expert in that one or two areas, and have a working knowledge of other areas and hire the best folks. It's very essential. Get the best folks in other areas to really bring you up in areas where you're not very knowledgeable about. That's my own formula for being a successful CEO in terms of knowledge.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Stefan, another question for you from Yinka. It says, or he's asking, what is next for marketing in the next post-COVID age? And would you say marketers are ready?
So I see two big challenges. One is micro and the other one is macro. Micro is the marketing transformation, so digital transformation, which is going to be requiring an organizational transformation, a cultural transformation in companies in order to be adjusting to a digital first world. And that is going to be requiring quite an extensive reinvention of the marketing organization. That's at the micro level, at the company level. And at the macro level, I think it's getting used to the fact that in today's day and age, you can't silo anymore what is marketing and what is society. It's one and the same. Okay, so you're in a food business, or you're Coca-Cola, no, you launch your latest product. People may respond to you about obesity among children, or they may respond to you about advertising to children, or they may respond to you about recycling of plastic, etc. So as a marketer, you will have to get used to this idea that your stakeholders are not only your consumer, they're society at large, and consumers are also citizens, and they're going to be increasingly demanding that beyond producing and producing safe and effective products, that you are driven by values which meet societal aspirations. No, and I think so. That's why I was talking about climate change, sustainable development, etc. Increasingly, products and brands will be measured against those expectations, and I think that's a big challenge. Yeah, it's very exciting, by the way.
Another question for you. Shola says, very insightful presentation. Can you please tell us the 2 most impactful books you have read on any topic and why you would advise us as marketing leaders to read them?
Wow.
But I can try to think about it.
Yeah, let me think about it. Do you have another one? I promise I'll respond to that, but I need to think.
Focus on your question. Okay, so I have from Obam, what are the 3 critical areas for leaders to cover that will help deliver short-term business needs while the team or organization are going through a turbulent time? That's for Mr.
The 3 top areas that a leader should cover during the crisis, right?
That will help to deliver short-term business needs during turbulent times.
The first one is a focus on your customer. You must be able to understand their changing requirements and find ways of reaching them. So you can't go wrong by focusing on the customer. That would be top of my agenda during the turbulence and during the normal time. That's why we are there. You must focus on the customer. The second thing is on your employees. I mean, sometimes we keep saying they are the best asset, but we don't show it in what we do. And I keep saying that there's no way the quality of an organization can exceed the quality of its employees. So sometimes, I mean, I see a lot of lip service being paid to this, but you must be extremely focused on creating a good environment for your employees to deliver their best during a crisis or during a normal time. So that's the second thing that I would suggest you do. And the third thing is what I said is about cash. We really need them to be very spot on the cash, conserve cash, spend it wisely. So 1, focus on customer, meet their requirements, understand their changing needs, their changing channels. Second, on your employees, give them a good environment to continue to thrive. And thirdly, make sure you conserve enough cash to survive the bad time.
Okay. Thank you. Stefan, have you thought of your 2 books?
Yeah, so there are 2 books which come to mind. Yeah, one is a book which I read when I was adolescent, must have been 16 or 17 years old, which is called Shogun by James Clavell. And it is about the first encounter between Europeans and Japanese in the 16th century. And I found it absolutely fascinating because it highlighted the differences of civilization and cultures meeting for the first time, and how from a sort of initial martial confrontation, people on both sides start getting beyond the sort of initial differences to discover the incredible wealth and sophistication of their respective cultures. And I think it helped shape my appetite and my curiosity for the world and its diversity. And this notion that there are always different ways of looking at the same thing, depending on what your history is and where you come from. Yeah, and I think that was an important book for me. That's very personal, but I think that it helped shape a bit who I am. Yeah, I still have the book in my in my living room, by the way. And the other one is a very personal one. It's a cartoon book which was drawn by my former boss, who was my mentor. So I had 3 mentors. I had the chance of having 3 mentors in my professional life so far, and one of them he was the CEO of a business unit at L'Oreal, and I was the marketing director. And he was incredibly talented. No, he had 59 good ideas per minute, and 1 very bad, but no. So incredible good, lots of good ideas, and he just had everything. No, he was this moving star. He was a star in L'Oreal. He was going right for the CEO job, and one day he just leaves the organization from a day to another. And I said, how on earth can you do that? I mean, everyone just respects you so much, and you're on such a. And he said, no, all what I've done has been for my dad. I wanted to prove, etc., but that it's not me. And he went to do something totally different. He became in charge of entertainment programs on the main private TV channel in France, and then became a very successful audiovisual producer. And so he did a cartoon book for me, which summarized our 4 years together in L'Oreal. And he was saying, additionally, he was a cartoonist. So in meetings he was just constantly drawing even the most senior leaders. And I found he had this talent of understanding the essence of people, and because when you draw a cartoon, you need to be picking the one thing which people are, and so I've also kept that this ability of getting to understand what drives people and who people are. So these are probably the 2 books which are emotionally important for me. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And another question for you from Jose. He's asking, there's hardly data on Africa in the WFA webinars. How do we ensure the data on Africa features in the global marketing development discourse?
Yeah, so I mean, there's indeed less data on Africa. We don't see ourselves as data collectors or data aggregators, because there are plenty of organizations which are much better at doing that, and they do that for profit. So we don't see that as the main added value of WFA. Our added value is to highlight case studies which are inspiring, things which marketers are doing in markets, which are novel, which are forward-looking, which are progressive, and which can inspire others. We are not academics, we're not there to teach theories. We're there to inspire marketers to stand on the shoulders of giants, to be emulating the best in class. That's what we do, and I think that's really where we have appetite. And I would certainly welcome if there were more sustained exchanges between ADVAN and WFA to share with us what stands out in Nigeria. And I would also be very keen to come back to Nigeria one day when you have a major event or conference, etc. Because I think there are limits to remote. I mean, remote on the one hand is very exciting because I've started my day today in Singapore. I've spent 2 hours in Singapore with the team this morning. I'm ending my day in Nigeria. I'm still going to the UK before I'm ending my day. And so it's very exciting, but all this is very virtual, And if you want to get a sense of what marketing is all about, what creativity is all about, what personality is all about, you also need that one-on-one exchange. And I'm absolutely convinced that post-pandemic, we may not be moving back to the pre-pandemic world, but we certainly will need that sort of one-on-one exchanges and physical presence in order to be able to share that knowledge and those insights.
Okay. Thank you very much. So final question, and this is for Mr. Ogusoya. It's from Emmanuel Agu. He's asked, are there positive opportunities that came up as a result of this pandemic, and how has Airtel benefited from such opportunities?
Oh, it's a bittersweet situation. I don't think anybody should benefit from a bad situation. But I mean, any adverse condition would also bring some opportunities for new ways of doing business. Before COVID, we wanted to deepen our digital channels. We wanted folks to buy airtime using their bank account, using applications, using the web, so that we don't have a lot of middle people in between. We're struggling around 15-20% of our airtime, of our revenue coming from physical recharge papers, from physical channels. 3-4 months into COVID, we have about 40%. We doubled 40% of our recharges coming through. Unbelievable. We struggled to, in 4-5 months, we actually achieved 40% of our recharges coming through the digital channels. It's just, I mean, awesome. That is one thing that came out of a bad situation. The second thing that came out of it is the appetite of our people for data. The appetite is insatiable. Anytime we expand the pipe, we expand the network, it just gets filled up again. It shows that, I mean, people actually have a very large appetite for being online for whatever they choose to do, either for learning, either for entertainment, either for even for whatever it is. It's unbelievable how much data we're consuming in this country. So that is second revelation of COVID. People work from home, people work from anywhere. If you want to connect, you need internet. And that is what we said, that's what we provide. So that's one good thing that came out of this unfortunate pandemic for us. And the last one, which I like to mention, is about the fact that, I mean, work is being redefined. Workplace, what is the workplace? There's no workplace anymore. You can work from anywhere now. It just shows, I mean, how a trigger can actually accelerate a journey. I mean, about a year ago, people would invest in real estate, people would invest in offices. Now, all the major technology companies, so maybe we're very different anyway, all the major technology companies are talking about people working from anywhere. Google, Facebook. I read an announcement by one of our competitors 2 days ago that actually deepening and offering employees to work from anywhere. That's the new reality. It shows that real estate that we all think we need, we actually don't need that much real estate. So those are the three clear things. We save money on real estate. We save money from channel, and in a long channel to a very direct to customer. That's what I'm talking about. And we've increased our data offerings, either data to watch movies, data to attend school. We more or less like a replacement industry. We're replacing so many things. We're replacing entertainment. We're replacing transportation. We're replacing money. We're replacing banking. The possibilities are just huge. But this pandemic has brought a certain urgency about how quickly we need to mine those opportunities.
Okay. Thank you very much. There are lots of comments in the chat box. Just people saying thank you. It's been a really good session, not just for me, but for everybody who's listened in. Just two, or maybe three comments that I'll make that I've taken out, which is that we must be good citizens as brands, as people. We must be human. And something that Stefan had said about disruption, but at the same time that there was disruption, there were just so many opportunities, and we took advantage of those opportunities. So hopefully that is a message to all of us, that regardless of the challenges that we face today, that we succeeded last year, we can do so much more this year as leaders, in the work that we do with our brands and the work that we do with our teams. So thank you very much. I'm going to hand over to Osamede, who is going to give us the closing remarks, and then we'll shut down. Thank you. Osamede, thank you.
Thank you, Alero. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you, Alero. I would just like to be brief, just to say a big thank you to the two guest speakers. to the CEO of Airtel and the CEO of WFA. And I also want to just please appeal to them to please keep supporting ADVAN and supporting the marketing team in Nigeria. To the CEO of Airtel, he's always ready and willing to honor our invitation whenever we do. So I'm very, very, very grateful. From the rest of the team in ADVAN, from the executives and the members of ADVAN, we say a very big thank you. And to Stephen, I would just like to make a very big request. We're having a challenge getting to arrive at the 1 naira of advertising, what it contributes to the GDP. I know you have done this for Europe, and I will say with the ESCO, they'll be coming to you for your help. Please kindly help us, because it will, as you, part of your presentation was about sustainability. We need to show what we are doing in the economy as marketers. So not that we're just advertising, but what advertising does to the GDP of Nigeria. So that's, Stefan, we would really like you to help us with that.
Yeah, let's connect on that separately. Happy to have a chat with you or with Ediri as a follow-up.
Okay, thank you very much, Stefan. I would like to say a big thank you to Alera for doing the wonderful job and moderating. Well done, Alera, nice one. Each time you do this, I'm always impressed. And also a big well done to the ADVAN ESCO. I would just say, if you do, we'll ask for more. So please, we need more from you. Well done, guys. And to all CMOs who have called in and participated, I will just appeal that you keep supporting ADVAN. And as Mr. Gusaya said, you cannot do it alone, but collectively we can do it together as ADVAN. So a big thank you to everybody, and well done to everybody, and thanks for being part of this.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Keep well.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Well done.